Okay, I'm going to work out a problem where you can figure out what your payoff is on a mortgage after so many years. And I'm going to show you two ways to solve that. Also figure out what your payment's going to be on a mortgage. And so let's just get into the problem right away. This, by the way, if you're taking my finance class, this is problem 4-24 in the textbook. So it says, when Sarah Jean purchased her house 12 years ago, she took out a 30-year mortgage for $220,000. The mortgage has a fixed interest rate of 6% compounded monthly. A, compute Sarah's monthly mortgage payments. And B, if Sarah Jean wants to pay off her mortgage today, for how much should she write the check? She made her most recent mortgage payment earlier today. So we're given the present value of this loan is, they're giving you $220,000 for it. So it's not out of your pocket. They gave you $220,000. And then you turned around and you got a house, right? You gave the money to the bank and you got a house, but originally you got the $220,000 to get the house. And Ann, well, it's 30 years. Okay. And the interest rate, R, is 6% compounded 12 times per year, right? And then we have a future value. We want the future value to be 0. And we want to find A, what the payment is. And we want to find B, the payoff after let's say 12 years. Okay, we want to know what that is. Okay. So now we have the problem in here, right? So A is pretty easy. A, we're just going to go to solution. I'm going to copy A down and go paste. And the payments is going to be equal to, using the Excel function, it's going to be equal to PMT. And then the rate is going to be 6% divided by 12 times. So that'll give you your monthly rate. The number of periods is going to be 30. And it's going to be times 12 because it's going to equals 30 times 12. So it's going to come out to 360. In fact, if I click, anytime when you're on one of these, if I click this function wizard, it shows you what's happening. See, that's 360. So the periodic rate is 0.5% because it's 12 months. It's 0.5% per month. The number of payments is 360 because 30 years times 12 payments is 360. And then the present value is right here. The future value is 0, and we'll just leave this as an ordinary annuity. So we don't have to put anything in here. So the payment's $319.01. So that's your answer for A. Okay, so that doesn't take very much. I'm going to go equal get formula. I'm going to put this in here for you so you can see that. Okay, so remember you got to divide your periodic. You have to divide your interest to get the periodic rate. You know, the interest per month, and then you have to take your number of payments. Since it's 12 months per year, you got to take 30 times 12 to get that, and then you just put in your other thing. All right. So for part B, if you think about it, so 12 years, how many years are left? So now you have for part B, I'm just going to delete this. For part B, you have and, well, now since you're starting on your 13th year, so you go 30 minus 12, how many years you got left? So this equals 30 minus 12. So there's 18 years left. And we already know the payment. So the payment is equals this, right? And the future value, we know that's going to be 0. And we want to know what the present value is, right? So the present value is going to be equal to present value, because that's going to be the payoff. It's going to be the rate. Again, it's going to be this divided by this. Number of periods is going to be this times this. We already have the payment calculated, right? It's, basically, we can click up here if we want. And the future value is 0. So the payoff is $173,974.77. Okay, so that's how much you owe after 12 years. You still have 18 years left to pay. Okay, so this is we call this the payoff. Let's just go ahead and copy this. Okay, now another way you could calculate B is you could do something called an amortization schedule. So we'll go alternate solution. And we'll go amortization schedule. And they're actually, it sounds real complicated, but they're actually easy to make. Let me highlight these different sections here. So for an amortization schedule, you're going to start with your period. And then you're going to have your beginning balance. And then you're going to have the interest you pay on each month. And also how much you pay in principal, how much you reduce the principal. Principal paid. Okay, I'll just leave it as principal, and then finally you want the ending balance after you make your payment. Okay, so I'm going to start out with period 1, and then go to 2. And what we can just highlight this and go all the way down to 360, because there's 360 payments in the loan. So until that number says 360, I went a little bit too far. So go all the way down until it says 360. Okay. All right, so my beginning balance is going to be equal to this. All right, so just go there. The interest I pay, well, I can do something called interest payment. But really, I can do it this way. I can go equals this times 6%. Oh, I'll do that again. Equals this times 6% per year divided by 12 months in a year. So I'm paying $1,100. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make all these dollars so you can see exactly. So 6%, a half a percent basically is a half a percent per month, right? Because 0.65, we calculated that up here. So I'm paying that much in interest. Now since I'm paying it, I guess we could do this with a negative sign in front, right? Okay. Now another way I could do is I could do something called I payment. Excel's already got a function. I can go equals interest payment. And it asks you for the rate. Again, it's going to be, I'm going to copy this formula down. So you got to kind of do it this way. So I want to copy it down. I want this to stick. So I'm going to go hit this and then hit F4 divided by this and then hit F4, right? So that makes it an absolute reference. And the period is right here, the first period. So I want to know the interest I'm paying in the first period. So that one I want it to move down as I copy the formula, so I'll leave it there. And hit comma. The number of periods is going to be, again, it's going to be 30 years, hit F4 times 12 times per year, hit F4 again. And the present value is going to be this 220,000. Again, hit F4. And then you hit enter, and it's going to give you the same negative 1,100. I also do the principal paid. Now really I could figure out the principal I pay by I take this and subtract this. That's going to give me how much principal. I can go equals this minus this. And as I'm paying, since my payment's this much and I'm paying this much interest, this is how much I'm going to reduce the principal. But Excel also has a formula for that. I go equals PMT. And again, it's going to be the rate, F4 divided by how many times per year, F4. The period again is going to be here. Don't have the F4 because it's moving down. Number of periods is going to be this, F4 times this, F4. And the present value is going to this F4. And I still get that 200. That's what we had before if I just subtract that from that. My ending balance is going to be equal to this plus this because I'm reducing my balance. Interest goes to the bank. The principal is how much we reduce the balance. So my ending balance is $219,780.99. Now my beginning balance on this one is going to be equal to what my ending balance is here. Okay, so then I'm going to copy these two down. You got to set it up. You got to do at least 2 rows to set it up. And then after you get the first those 2 rows set up, you can highlight this whole row. And if I just double click here, it's going to fill it all the way down. So now if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, my balance should be 0 at the bottom if I did it right. Okay, so this is not wide enough, so I'm going to double click here. And my balance is 0, so I got it right. So if you look at the amortization schedule, we start out paying almost all interest, and then as we keep going down, we're paying very little interest and almost all principal. Another thing, when you write off your first year, say you bought the house in January, you could write this off on your taxes if you're itemizing your taxes. Okay, but we still haven't answered this question, the payoff after 12 years. Well, as 12 years is 144 months. So after 144 months, the payoff would be right here, this ending balance or this beginning balance, which should be 173,974.77. That should be the same thing we have here. Okay, so that's how to do an amortization schedule. You might want to go in there and slow the video down and see what I did because it's actually not that hard to do, and it's useful to know how to do an amortization schedule for yourself. Okay, so that's it for that. Thanks for watching.